Welcome to the laws of cooking on Shabbat. This will be part 34 of the class. In today's topic, Rav David Yosef Shlitan Sever Halacha Birura is going to speak about indirect benefit from a Shabbat violation. The halacha begins, Mutar lehenot ulishtamesh b'Shabbat b'davar haba ketotzoa mi'isur maaseh Shabbat. One is allowed to benefit and use on Shabbat something that came as a result of a Shabbat violation. Ukigon, and for example, im hidlik or b'cheder, if a person went ahead and he turned on the light in the room, umachmad ha'or, and now because of the light, yachol haya limtzo ezer sefer, you are able to find a certain book, or chafetz, or a certain object, hanimtzeim b'cheder, which are found in the room, she'af al pi she'asur haya lehenod me'ha'or, even though it is forbidden for you to enjoy from the light, you're not allowed to get any benefit from the light, kedei lo'otzi et ha'chafetz or ha'sefer, in order to find the book or the object, mikol makom, nevertheless, b'di'avad, if it already happened, meaning, im hotziu'om lo ne'esru ha'chavetz or ha'sefer, l'ishtamesh b'hem b'Shabbat. If you already took it out, the object or the book, they do not become forbidden to being used on Shabbat. V'chen, and so too, im tiken sakin kedei la'achtoch ba. What happens if a person went ahead and he sharpened a knife on Shabbat in order to cut with it? Even though it is forbidden for you to cut with that knife on Shabbat. Why? Because you did a malacha, you sharpened the knife. That is not allowed to be done on Shabbat. Nevertheless, mikol makom, im hatach ba davar ma'achal. What happens if you went ahead and then you cut a food with it? Mutar lechlo b'Shabbat. You are allowed to go ahead and you are allowed to eat it on Shabbat. So Rabotai, we see from these two cases, the case number one of turning on the light, the case number two of sharpening the knife. The malacha was done with the light and with the knife. You're never allowed to benefit from those Shabbat violations. Nevertheless, if you did benefit from it, for example, by the light, you walked into the room, turned on the light, without the light, you were not going to be able to see anything. Now, because of the light, it enables you to see what you have to get. Are you allowed to take out anything from that room? No. But what happens if you did take it out? Does the book or the object become forbidden? No. Why? Because the Shabbat violation did not happen to the book or to the object. It happened to the light. That's case number one. Case number two, what about the knife? When you went ahead and you sharpened the knife, which you're not allowed to do on Shabbat, now, are you allowed to go ahead and use that knife to cut something with it? Not allowed. But what happens? You went ahead and you still did it, you cut it. Can you use, let's say, the food that you cut the knife with? Yes. Why? Because the Shabbat violation was not on the food, it was on the knife. Nevertheless, asur l'shtot b'Shabbat chalav, but nevertheless, it's going to be forbidden for one to drink on Shabbat milk. But Rabotai, this case is different. What happens if you went ahead and you milked a cow on Shabbat? Are you allowed to go ahead and drink it? No. Why? Because the malacha was done on that milk. When you're milking the cow, which is not allowed, by you milking the cow, now that milk is coming out. So that milk you're not allowed to go ahead and drink. And that's what he tells us over here. The reason why it's asur, since you're benefiting from the act of the Shabbat violation itself, that happened on Shabbat, therefore we're going to tell you you're not allowed to benefit. This milk is a result from the Shabbat violation. So therefore don't think, oh, maybe it's comparable to the book. No, by the book or by the object or by the food, you didn't do no Shabbat violation on them. However, by the milk, as a result of the Shabbat violation, that came out. That you're not allowed to use. This is comparable to food which was cooked on Shabbat. Okay, Rabotai, summary. Indirect benefit from a Shabbat violation. If a prohibited act was done on Shabbat, it is sometimes permitted to benefit from the result indirectly. Example, if someone turned on a light illegally and because of the light found a book or object, although using the light was forbidden, you cannot use the light to go ahead now and look for the book or for the object. Nevertheless, the book or object itself is still permitted to use on Shabbat after the fact. What happens if you already went ahead? Let's say you took out your garment or you took out the book or whatever other object might be. You were not allowed to do it. But if you did it, we're going to tell you you're allowed to go ahead and you're allowed to benefit from the book or the item. Why? Because the desecration of Shabbat was not done on the object like by the cow. If a forbidden action enabled something else as a result, that resulting item is not automatically prohibited. Example, a knife was illegally fixed on Shabbat. You went ahead and you sharpened it on Shabbat. Even though cutting with it is forbidden, nevertheless we're going to tell you food that was already cut may be eaten. If you went ahead and you already cut with that knife, then we're going to tell you you're allowed to go ahead and eat it. So Rabotai, you have to be very careful with these halachot, that lechatchila we don't want you to benefit from Maaseh Shabbat, meaning from Shabbat desecration. But if you went ahead and you did use it, we're going to tell you b'di'evad you're allowed to go ahead and benefit from the item or the object or the book itself. Because on that you never desecrated Shabbat. Direct benefit from the forbidden act is prohibited. If one benefits from the act itself, it remains forbidden. Example, milk that was milked on Shabbat is forbidden to drink. The reason being, because one benefits directly from the prohibited labor, similar to food cooked on Shabbat. So Rabotai, we do see today a very important halakha. If a person went ahead and he desecrated on Shabbat, for example, he turned on the light, or he sharpened the knife, are you allowed to go ahead and are you allowed to use the knife? Are you allowed to go ahead and use the light? The halakha is going to tell you you're not allowed to benefit from Shabbat violations. Nevertheless, what happens if you went ahead and you did benefit from Shabbat violations? Like by the light, you went inside the room, the light enabled you to get an object or your garment or a book. You were not supposed to do it, but let's say you took it out. Can I wear it? Can I read from it? The halakha is going to tell you, b'di'evad, you're allowed to go ahead and use it. What about if I took the knife and I went ahead and I cut bread on Shabbat? Can I eat the bread? Yes. Why? Again, in both of these scenarios, you did not do anything prohibited to the item, the book, the food. The prohibition was done on the light and the knife. They are the problem, not the result of what you do with them after. However, Rabotai, what about milking a cow? Since when you're milking a cow on Shabbat, the milk is the direct result from the prohibited labor. So that you're not going to be allowed to benefit from, because that it came as a result from the prohibited labor. Same thing with cooking on Shabbat. When a person cooks food on Shabbat, since the cooking comes as a result from you desecrating Shabbat, we're not going to allow you to go ahead and eat that food. Rabotai, have a great day. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen ve'amen.